What's going on, guys? Dave from Wake Up It's Magic. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. Today we're going to be talking about Reanimate, and more specifically in Pauper. So if you're new to the format, or if you're just coming back from a hiatus and you want to say, hey, I want to reanimate some creatures in Pauper, this is going to be the video for you. Let's just kind of dive right into it. Reanimate is a spell from Tempest from 1997. It's the classic bread and butter. You're taking a creature card from any graveyard, putting it onto the battlefield under your control, and again, you lose life equal to that creature's total casting cost. Now, in Pauper, there's some similar cards you're going to be able to see where we can reanimate some bigger creatures. Now, if you're unfamiliar with, why you want to do or how you can cheat creatures out with Reanimate, here's an example. Gristlebrand, perfect example, especially in something like a Vintage Cube, let's say. It's a heavy mana costing creature. However, if you can get it into your graveyard early and cheat it out, as you can see, there's going to be a lot of payoffs. Another creature that just recently came out from Phyrexia, All Will Be One, is Atraxa Grand Unifier. Again, the casting cost is hard, but you can stick this in almost any deck that you can reanimate it with. Discard it early, bring it out with a reanimation spell. Now you have a 7/7 flying vigilance. I can't even talk because it's a mouthful. Death Touch lifelink creature. So that's the idea here. If you're unfamiliar with what reanimation is and how it works in Magic. Now, going into Pauper, Exhume has really been the only card up until recently that can bring a creature back onto the battlefield under your control. However, the downside with Exhume is it also applies to your opponent, and if, let's say, they have a better creature in their graveyard than you do, then it's not really going to work out. So some recent cards that have come out, and we'll get to in a second, is going to be able to show why Exhume is a little bit better now. Late to Dinner just came out 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. Modern Horizons 2. This is a reanimation spell in white at sorcery speed, as well as now Dread Return. Commander Masters making this Pauper legal, printing it at common, returning a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And you can also flash it back, if possible, by sacrificing 3 creatures. So, getting to creatures with cycling, the only one that I could note with 1 land cycling that was even relevant was maybe Horror of the Broken Lands, and that also has a payoff where if you cycle or discard another card, you also get +2/+1 buff. But there wasn't really anything out there. A lot of 2 mana cycling creatures in Pauper. But now with Lord of the Rings, you have cards like Eagles of the North, Generous Ent, Lorien Revealed, Oliphant, and Troll of Khazad-dûm, where now you can cheat some of these creatures out. And we can eliminate Lorien Revealed because, again, that's not a creature, but Lorien Revealed has been doing a lot of things in different formats. Sticking to the creatures here, you're likely to use the black and red creature here, being the Troll and Oliphant. Generous Ent is also a very valid target. It's a monster creature that does a lot. Creates a food token as well, has reach 5/7 for 6. And then Eagles of the North to a lesser extent, but depending on the type of deck you want to put it in, it could be playable. So I did build a deck around black-white that we'll show you in a second, but let's go to black-red because this has been the deck in the past that has had Reanimate and Pauper, so let's take a look here. So with black-red Reanimate, as you can see, you're going to have a lot of cards that are going to allow you to discard cards early, like Faithless Looting, Scrapwork Mutt, Thrill of Possibility, Bitter Reunion, putting those big creatures into the graveyard and bringing them back with Exhume and Dread Return. Stinkweed Imp allows you to dredge 5, putting more cards into the graveyard instead of drawing a card for the turn. And then there's a nice little card called Dragon Breath here from Scourge. This card allows you to bring back a big creature from the graveyard with haste, like an Ulamog's Crusher. Being reanimated and being able to attack right away is amazing. So that's been the early type of reanimation deck in Pauper minus Dread Return. This was only Exhume. So you'd look for Exhume, and it was hard because you'd only have 4 copies of some sort of reanimation spell. But now you have Dread Return. Now you have 8, and that allows this deck to hum a little bit better, including having Troll and Oliphant in the deck. So putting those cards early, finding your lands, and then potentially playing an Exhume on turn 2, and playing the Oliphant or the Troll. Let's take a look at some gameplay here, and we'll kind of break this down. So we kept a 1-land hand here, but this is perfect. We have Exhume in hand. We can cycle the Troll or the Oliphant. I think I end up cycling the Oliphant here only because we have a predominantly red hand. So I'd like to go out and find that mountain. usually I like to pick the Troll over the Oliphant. It has one more toughness and it's more evasive. It has to be blocked by 3 or more creatures. It's like Menace on steroids, right? So here, opponent, again, might not be playing the most optimal Tier 1 deck. Keep that in mind again. This is not a league play match. This is just a kind of a practice round. So we exhume the Oliphant back. We got that on the battlefield. That's turn 2. We have a 6/4 out of there on turn 2. And ransack the lab for opponent, and they end up passing the turn here, I believe, after this. But then we kind of just get a little bit lucky, right? Turn 3, we draw a second exhume. I'm like, all right, well, let's get our third land out there, cycle the Troll, grab a land, and let's just exhume the Troll out there, right? That's pretty much going to be game over at this point, but I think it just goes to the next turn. Opponent like wants to see what they end up drawing or whatever. But we get the Troll out there. Now we have Troll and Oliphant on turn 3. Pretty cool stuff. Attack with the Oliphant here, and keeping in mind the Oliphant also pumps creatures when it attacks as well. But I think opponent again just ransacks the lab here again, or sorry, Night's Whisper, and then just wanted to see what they draw, and I think that does it. I think they just scoop it up. So essentially, you know, it's a very quick and easy way, and that was without me using any of the discard outlets. You know, we didn't use any of the other cards that were in my hand to kind of put cards into the graveyard. But it's one of those decks that's super fun, and you can actually mess around with it. Like here's another build. If I can pull this up, you can mess around with white black even, and kind of include Late to Dinner as an example, and mess around with a card like Breathless Night from Modern Horizons 2 at common. Whenever creatures come back from the graveyard, including itself, it gets a +1/+1 counter. But as a 2/2 flying lifelink, it can keep you in the game at times. So here you can see we have all 3. We have Exhume, Late to Dinner, Dread Return as well. But this is not a deck list you're going to find anywhere, because I kind of threw things together. As you can see, also Eagles of the North is in this. Mentioned Horror of the Broken Lands, but Undying Malice also brings things back from the graveyard, so that does trigger Breathless Night as well. But you can mess around, build different types of decks. You can even try and do green where you can splash, or try and do a generous Ent type of deck with the Trolls as well. It's really up to you and how you want to build it out. And I think that's the great thing about it. Now we have options in Pauper to bring creatures back from the graveyard with Exhume and now Dread Return. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this. If you guys like playing Reanimation, if you want to try it out in Pauper, if this video helped you at all, throw your comments down below. But that's all I got for you guys. I'm out.